Losing a pet is not just losing an animal. It is losing a presence, a routine, a quiet witness to your life. And if you've ever felt confused by the depth of your grief, if you've wondered why it hurts so much, or why it doesn't seem to fade the way people tell you it should, this video is for you. Because the truth is, grief for a pet follows different psychological rules than grief for people. And most of us are never taught how to navigate it. This isn't a video about moving on. It's about understanding what is actually happening inside your mind and how to live with the loss instead of fighting it. Let's begin. When a pet enters your life, they do something very unusual in psychological terms. They integrate themselves into your nervous system. Your brain does not register them as an object. It registers them as a stabilizing presence. Your pet becomes part of your emotional baseline. They are there when you wake up, there when you come home, there when you're sad, angry, exhausted, or overwhelmed, without explanation, without judgment, without conditions. Over time, your brain associates their presence with safety. This is not metaphorical. It is neurological. Your pet becomes a regulation anchor. Their breathing slows yours. Their routines structure your day. Their reactions reassure you that the world is still predictable. So when they die, your brain doesn't just grieve a relationship. It loses a stabilizing signal, and that's why the pain feels so disorienting. One moment you feel functional, the next completely hollow. This isn't weakness. It's your nervous system searching for something that used to be there and failing to find it. Grief, at its core, is not sadness. It is absence detection. Your brain is constantly asking, where did this go? Why hasn't it returned? What did I do wrong? And with pets, this process is often more intense because the relationship was pure. Your pet never betrayed you, never complicated things, never withheld affection. They were consistent, which means the loss feels absolute. There is no unresolved conflict, only silence. And silence is one of the hardest things for the human mind to accept. Many people feel ashamed of how deeply they grieve a pet. They think, it was just an animal. Why am I this broken? But psychology tells us something very different. Grief intensity is not based on species. It is based on attachment security. Pets often represent the safest attachment we ever experience. They don't abandon us emotionally. They don't reject us. They don't change. So when they're gone, the loss hits the deepest layers of the psyche, the parts responsible for safety, comfort, and unconditional belonging. This is why pet grief often feels more childlike. You may cry unexpectedly, feel waves of panic, experience moments of disbelief. Your mind is reacting the way it does when something foundational disappears. Another reason pet loss hurts so deeply is because it is invisible grief. There is no socially accepted mourning. Period. No rituals that fully honor the loss. People may say things like, you can get another one, at least it wasn't a person, or they're in a better place. These statements are usually meant to comfort, but they often do the opposite. They invalidate the bond, and invalidation complicates grief. When your pain isn't acknowledged, your mind tries to suppress it, but suppressed grief doesn't disappear. It turns inward. It becomes guilt, rumination, self-blame. Many people replay the final moments over and over. Did I miss something? Should I have noticed earlier? Did I make the right decision? This is the brain attempting to regain control. Loss makes us feel powerless. So the mind searches for alternative timelines, moments where the outcome could have been different. But here is a critical psychological truth. Guilt is not proof of responsibility. It is a byproduct of attachment. If you didn't care, you wouldn't question yourself. Guilt emerges because your brain is wired to protect what it loves, and when it fails, it assumes fault. But love does not equal omniscience. You did not have access to the future. You made decisions with the information and capacity you had at the time. Your grief is not evidence of failure. It is evidence of devotion. Another aspect of pet loss that is rarely discussed is identity disruption. You weren't just someone who had a pet. You were a caretaker, a companion, a protector. Your routines were shaped around them. Your language included them. Your sense of home included their presence. When they're gone, There is a subtle identity void. Who are you now that you're not feeding them, walking them, talking to them? This can create a strange sense of emptiness. Even during moments that seem unrelated, you may feel lost without knowing why. That's because part of your identity has lost its function, and the mind struggles when roles disappear without closure. One of the most difficult phases of pet grief is the moment you realize the routines are gone. You still wake up expecting to hear them. You still reach for them out of habit. You still listen for sounds that will never come. This is not denial. It is conditioning. Your brain learned patterns over years, and it takes time to unlearn them. Each moment of realization is a small grief in itself, and those moments accumulate. Healing does not mean eliminating these moments. It means allowing them to exist without self-judgment. One of the biggest mistakes people make when grieving a pet is trying to replace them too quickly or refusing to consider another pet out of guilt. Both extremes come from the same misunderstanding. Love is not a finite resource. Getting another pet does not erase the one you lost. And refusing joy does not honor them. Your relationship with your pet was unique. Nothing can replicate it, but that doesn't mean your capacity for connection ended with them. In fact, many people find that their pet taught them how to love more deeply. That lesson doesn't die. It lives on in you. Another overlooked element of pet grief is ambiguous closure. Pets don't tell us they're ready to go. They don't explain what they're feeling. So we're left filling in the gaps. This can make the loss feel unresolved. One way to gently address this is through symbolic closure. This doesn't mean forcing acceptance. It means creating a moment where you acknowledge the bond and its end. Some people write letters to their pets. Others create rituals. Some simply speak aloud. The act itself matters less than the intention. You are telling your brain, this mattered. This was real. This relationship had meaning. And meaning is what allows grief to soften, not disappear, but soften. There will come a time when the pain changes. It won't vanish. It will become quieter, less sharp, more like a presence than a wound. This doesn't mean you're forgetting. It means your nervous system is adapting, and adaptation is not betrayal. You may still have moments, years later, when the loss resurfaces. A sound, a smell, a memory. This is normal. Grief doesn't move in a straight line. It spirals. Each return is different, usually gentler, usually more reflective. If you're in the early stages of loss, let me tell you something important. You are not broken. You are not weak, and you are not grieving too much. You are responding appropriately to the loss of a being who loved you without conditions. That kind of bond leaves an imprint. And imprints don't disappear. They integrate. Your pet is gone, but what they gave you remains. Your capacity for patience, your ability to care, your tolerance for vulnerability. Those things are alive in you. And in that sense, the relationship continues, not in presence, but in influence. Grief is love with nowhere to go, but over time, it finds new places to live. Not replacing what was lost, but expanding around it. If you are grieving a pet right now, take this with you. You don't need to rush healing. You don't need to justify your pain. And you don't need permission to miss them. Love doesn't end just because a life does. It changes form. And learning how to live with that change is one of the quiet, profound challenges of being human. Thank you for being here. And thank you for loving deeply enough to feel this loss.